Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to I Care About You, the podcast where we explore healing, self-awareness, and connection in real time. And I'm your host, Juliana J. And today we're diving into something that might just change your relationships, your stress level, and your overall sense of peace in your daily life. It's deceptively simple idea that's gone viral, and it comes from someone I deeply, deeply respect, author and motivational speaker, Mel Robbins. And it's called the Let Them Theory. Now, I've been reading this book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and it's incredible. You're going to love it. I highly suggest it. It's going to go so much more in depth to this concept than I can go in a 25-minute podcast. So I really do encourage you to get the book. What I'm going to lay out here is just an overview and a very simple understanding of what the theory actually is so that you can pursue it more. It's been going viral, like I said, and a lot of people have a lot of talk about it. Today, I'm going to try to break it down for you a little bit. So let's take a deep breath together and get into it. So what is the Let Them Theory? I've been reading Mel Robbins' latest book, and I have to say, it's not just insightful, it's real. Mel blends humor and honesty in a way that makes you feel like you're sitting across from a friend who's been through it and is willing to tell you the truth. Her personal stories bring the Let Them Theory to life. And what I love most is that it's not just about letting others be who they are, but it's also about letting yourself be who you are, which is just so profound when you really think about it. That's not something that you hear very often, or that it's brought to your attention. We're constantly feeling that we need to fit into a box or be something else. I talk about this often on so many of the podcasts. But this book really talks about as you learn to understand that you can't control other people and what they think and do. You can only control yourself, and you allow yourself to disengage from trying to control other people. It's just incredible in so many ways. So let's break it down. There are two key parts to this theory, and I think this is where some people get confused. There's number one, let them judge you, let them walk away, let them be inconsistent or late or forgetful or not who you expected. Let them make their own choices because they will anyway. And when you stop trying to control or correct everyone else, you free up your energy for actually what matters. When you realize you can't control the others and you can only control yourself, you realize that no matter what you do, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. And if you're paying attention, people will tell you who they really are, and then believe them. If they're really somebody who is going to be super judgy and is going to stab you in the back, that's who they are. Nothing you're going to do is going to change them. Only they have the power to change them. So once you realize and you kind of disconnect yourself from these people or the need to control people who are treating you in ways that you feel are harmful or are hurting you, or things that are happening in life that are hard and you can't control it, once you realize that, you don't have to get so embroiled and enmeshed in it anymore. You can just see it for what it is. But the second part, which is super, super important, is what Mel refers to as let me. Let me stay grounded. Let me honor my needs. Let me say no. Let me walk away. Let me change my mind. Let me simply choose peace over drama. Let me protect my energy without guilt. Without guilt. This is where the real shift happens, when you stop reacting to others and start responding to yourself. It's really simple but powerful invitation to release control, recenter your boundaries, and build a more peaceful and present relationship with yourself and others. Now, it sounds kind of easy in concept, but if you've really spent your life trying to control people, like I try to get things from other people, like respect or kindness. Just the other day, I was walking the dog, and I'm having this hearing problem right now, so I can't hear really. And I was walking the dog on a path for walking, and this woman came up behind me on her bicycle, and I didn't know. I stepped around the dog because the dog was sniffing something, and that was in her way. And she got really humpy, like shaking her head at me and, all of that. And then I said to her, she was walking away, I'm sorry, I have a hearing problem. I didn't hear you. And I could have said so many other things, but that's really all I said. And she didn't even turn around or say anything to me. She just kept walking. And I was like, this is ruining my whole day now. This is ruining my whole walk. I'll never. And she went to there was a dragon boat down at the marina that was I think they were trying to get new members. And so they were having an event, and she was part of that. She was one of them. And then I thought to myself, I am never going to be that. And those people must be mean. And I just really went on with this narrative that went on forever about just because this one person was unkind. And then I just kind of applied this theory, let her be that way. If that's how she is all the time, what is her life like? It's not a life I want. Let her be that way. Didn't really hurt me. It didn't really do anything other than me feeling like here's another person who can't value me or be kind. And I had to really work to let them go, let it go, let her be like that. And then the real power comes when you're like, let me respond this way, do this, feel this way, retell that story, whatever I need to do. But that's where the real power is. So here's the concept in its simplest form. You cannot control what other people do. You can only control your reaction or response or thoughts or beliefs. Your reaction shapes your reality. Mel gives this really great example in her book about how she saw friends on Facebook who had all gone to a weekend together somewhere, and she wasn't invited. And she goes through the whole gamut of how she feels about it and what she does to work through it. And it's really, really incredible. I don't want to give it away. It's early in the book, but I think it's something that we can all relate to, is seeing something on social media and making up a story about it that tells a negative story about you personally, when you don't even know if that's the truth or not. And you let what you see be controlled into something to make you feel bad about yourself rather than uplift you or be neutral or something you're happy for your friend. And we do that so often, almost probably subconsciously a lot of the times. And her story was really great in how she applied the let them theory and what she decided to do for herself. So it's kind of like this. If someone wants to leave your life, let them. If someone wants to behave in a way you don't like, let them. If someone is judging you or doubting you, ignoring you, being mean to you, you guessed it, just let them. The let them theory isn't about apathy. I want to make that super clear. It isn't about detaching from people completely or giving up on your relationships. It's about releasing the control factor around those things, releasing the constant, exhausting need to manage how others behave, and instead focus your own energy inward on your values, your well-being, your responses. Because you can't control the other people, you can only control how you show up and how you respond to things. So that's where the real control lies, and that's often where we don't apply any. We are so conditioned to apply control to the other people, trying to make them something different or react differently or be differently or respond differently, but we don't think at all about our own control with ourselves. And that's where this kind of shifts. Why is this so powerful? Why does it resonate so much right now? Because we are tired. You know it. I know it. We're tired because we're tired emotionally, mentally, spiritually, of trying to keep everyone happy, of managing everyone's impressions of us, or fixing things that aren't ours to fix. Again, social media and all of that, instant access to everything, instant response to everything has really made us so tired. And it's created this whole new thing. I mean, I never had to create my happy life persona to 1,000 people on social media before. And now I have to do that. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to try and be all those things. It's exhausting at work. It's exhausting to be on screens all the time and taxing. And sometimes when we're in that space, that's when we really try to control things more and more and more and more and more. There's a whole principle in Chinese medicine about it, but basically it's like when we feel tired, emotionally drained, spiritually drained, mentally drained, it's a little bit of a feeling of a lack of control in our own lives because we're just so overburdened, overwhelmed, overtaxed. And so we might try to control things more in the outer world just because we need a break from it. So can you please just treat me with kindness? I can't handle this conversation right now, or whatever it might be. Especially when the world feels a little bit out of control like it does now, when the news is heartbreaking, when relationships are strained, when boundaries get blurred, we crave something grounded, that's easy, that we can sit in, that we can be, that is grounding and simple and powerful and we don't have to remember all the steps. It's as simple as let them and then let me. It's easy to work with, and it makes you feel a little bit like things aren't so overwhelming. I guarantee you, if you really put this into practice, you'll realize like, wow, the world's not so overwhelming anymore because you're not spending all this mental energy and emotional energy trying to control everything else. It's really freeing. You'll have a lot more free time, I guarantee. And honestly, It gives you permission to reclaim your own time and peace and energy. You don't have to put so much energy into trying to get people to like you or to keep up everything perfectly. You don't have to say yes to everything. Saying no is not so scary anymore. A lot of us are really afraid to say no because there was a lot of fear behind saying no. The what ifs. What if they decide they don't like me? What if they don't ask me next time? What if they say I'm not a good mom? What if they say I'm not a good worker? All those things. So a big part of this theory is boundaries, not walls, boundaries. So let's talk about boundaries. Because let them doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you're choosing to care for yourself first. Boundaries say, this is what I will accept. This is how I deserve to be treated. This is where I end and someone else begins. It's just really about deciding where you're going to put your energy, what you're going to put your energy in to. And once you realize what you can't control, you have a lot more energy for the things that you can. And when someone crosses those boundaries, instead of spiraling into anxiety, resentment, or people pleasing, which is my go-to, you just take a pause and you let them think, be, or do whatever they're doing. Let them be who they are. And you choose how you respond to that. How are you going to respond to that? If someone's mean to you, you have a plethora of options. Walk away, talk to them about it, walk away and talk to them about it later, yell at them. You have so many different options. Do absolutely nothing, find compassion for them, ask them if they're hurting themselves. So many options, so many options. You can choose distance, you can choose a hard conversation, and you can choose no response, but you get to choose how you're going to respond. And it isn't a response to what they're doing to you, it's a response that you're choosing. You're choosing the response. So what do I mean by this? This kind of sounds a little weird as I'm talking about it. Like, how do people know what I'm actually saying about they get to choose? Let's talk about some examples, some everyday examples. Your friend cancels plans at the last minute. Again, they chronically cancel plans. Instead of trying to convince them to value your time, you just let them. And next time, you don't make plans. I had to do this with somebody who is chronically late and blows me off, and it's a family member. So if something better comes along, then they will most often do that. And then I've planned to do something with them the whole day. So now I don't have plans. And that used to really, really, really piss me off. And then I decided that, I'm always going to get blown off or they're going to be hours and hours late. So when I make plans with them, I'm just going to continue on with my day and not think it's really going to happen. And if it happens, great. And if it doesn't, I haven't set aside all this time and I'm sitting at home all ready to go for hours and hours. I'm not doing that anymore, getting really pissed off. I'm just, okay, we were going to meet at 10. They're not here. It's 10:15. I'm going to go do other things. And then they can catch up with me when they're ready. And that has really taken so much strain off that relationship because I was really feeling like incredibly devalued by that. I was putting all this, like, they don't care about me. They're taking me for granted. I'm not valuable. I'm not worthy of their time. I'm just fill in, all these things I told myself. I just let it go. And I came up with something that works for me. And it's been working totally just fine. And I don't have as much resentment as I used to have. Another thing is, for example, your coworker takes credit for your work. Instead of stewing in frustration, you calmly advocate for yourself and you stop expecting them to be someone they're not. This is really true in work. I feel like just let people show you who they are, and then you know who they are and you can adjust accordingly. But don't try to control what they're going to do, because they're going to do it regardless of what you say or don't say, because a work relationship is a different kind of beast altogether. Your friends while you're there, your community in some respect, but it's not as solid as maybe some other relationships that you have. And people can stab you in the back or take credit for your work because at the end of the day, everybody's kind of competing with each other, right? And they're competing for certain jobs and things like that. Another one is your partner doesn't listen when you express a need. Instead of yelling or begging them to do it or just shutting down, you see clearly. Let them be who they're showing you that they are. And from there, decide what's next. This also happened to me. I was with somebody for a very long time who never listened to anything I would say. I was so bad, they wouldn't even remember what it was for like the next day and stuff. And it was like a broken record. Everything just kept repeating all the time. And I made up this narrative that they don't care and they don't care about me and they're just using me so that I'll do their dishes and whatnot and help them out. And they don't really care about me at all. And they only want me when they want me. And then otherwise they're kind of indifferent. And I made up all these things about that. And then I realized they're not going to change no matter what I say. I'm just hurting myself with all this being upset, shutting down, feeling unworthy, creating all these negative self-beliefs about myself, feeling like I'm unlovable, et cetera, et cetera. That's just hurting me. They're still doing their same thing, whatever, all disconnected and emotionally uninvolved. And that's who they are. And I didn't see them for who they were. I kept trying to fit them into a box of being something else. And once I realized that's who they are, is that what I want? I can make a choice from that was much more healthier, better, and more wonderful for me. And I got my power back. I didn't have to be in a relationship that constantly made me feel like I had no value. I could go out and find people who considered me valuable in a whole host of other friendships. Like that relationship really kept me from so much because of the story I told myself about it and because of the hurt I felt being in the relationship. We couldn't really talk about the series without talking about letting go. And Mel talks about letting go in the book and how hard it is for her. And I so appreciated what she said so candidly about it. You'll love it. But letting go is a practice. And oftentimes, I've said it on the podcast many times, I'm not sure. Some things you can let go of, but other things you spend your life letting go and then picking back up and letting go and picking back up and letting go whenever something happens in life that reminds you of it or that brings up old feelings or old stories you've told yourself. You're right back to not being able to let it go. Case in point for me is I was assaulted as a child and I kept trying to forgive that person and I could do it for a couple years or whatever. And then they would do something that was just heinous and it would come right back every time. And eventually I just had to be like, I can't have this person in my life anymore. It's not only that they did that to me as a child, but they're not a good person. So why do I keep trying to have them in my life? They're better not in my life because they're not going to change. And that was really, really hard, but also beneficial. Of course, letting go isn't easy. Letting go of expectations, control, unhealthy patterns is a daily practice, and it's messy and it's emotional and requires a lot of self-awareness. And it's like up and down, backwards, forwards, around, it's a tangled web. It's not a clear trajectory from one point to the other. But if you're able to let go even a little bit, it creates space for peace, space for truth, space for people who do meet you in your wholeness, space to expand, space to forgive yourself, forgive the other person, space to find compassion, gratitude, space to work on your shadows, all kinds of things. So if you're holding on to a version of someone that doesn't exist anymore, or maybe never existed, what might make you feel like letting them go? Not as an act of resentment, but as an act of radical love for yourself. Radical love for yourself. Let the person go. That's how I felt about the person from my childhood who assaulted me. Let them go. It's radical love for myself. I don't have to keep trying to show them that they could be a better person. That's their work. That's not my work. And it's really hard to give yourself radical love. It's really hard, especially if you've grown up in spaces where you feel like that's not something you deserve. But little by little, you can give it to yourself. You can work on it. You can realize you need to work on it and then do some work around that. And if you can get to that place, man, is it freeing. I wish that for all of you. So just in case you're a journaler and someone who likes to take reflections, I'm going to offer a few to you now. Just take a moment to reflect. You might want to grab a journal or just think about it, and I'll give you some space to consider each one. But if you want to write down these prompts that you can go deeper into them, it might be helpful for you, or just think about them on your drive home or whenever. So the first one is, who in your life are you trying to change or control right now? Who in your life are you trying to change and control right now? The second one is, what would it feel like to simply let them be who they are and to shift your own response instead? So what would it feel like to simply let them be who they are, but instead shift your response to who they are? What would that feel like? What would that look like? What boundaries have you been afraid to set? Boy, this is so huge. Setting boundaries is really, really hard, and it's hard to maintain them. And if you set boundaries and you do them and they're first-time boundaries, you often kind of rewind back, because obviously if you've never had a boundary with somebody and then you put a boundary in, they're not always so happy about that. And then you feel horrible and you take away the boundary, but then you feel horrible that you took away the boundary because you were not honoring yourself. And it's just a whole thing, right? So what boundaries have you been afraid to set with this person? And what would you fear will happen if you do? Just script it out. What are your fears? And what would you do if that happened? If they yelled at you, what would you do? If they walked away, what would you do? If they said they wanted a divorce, what would you do? Just spend some time being prepared with, if you set a boundary, what could happen? Are they going to yell at you? Are they going to be mad? Are they going to call you a bad mom? Are they going to call you a bad dad? Are they going to call you a bad sister? Or whatever it is, whatever. What are you afraid of that's stopping you from setting those boundaries? And what could a response be if you think that's going to happen? Here's another one. What part of your peace are you really willing to reclaim this week? What part of your peace are you willing to reclaim this week? It might be something like, I no longer want to go to this thing I go to every Wednesday nights. I want to take some time off and maybe I'll go back to it. Instead of worrying that everybody else will be mad at you for not going, what do you feel? What do you want? That's just an example. There's all other kinds of peace, like peace in relationships, peace in your private life, peace at work, peace with your children, peace with your relationships, etc. And the last one, write a letter to your past self who needed to hear, you don't have to fix them, just love yourself enough to let them go. Write a letter to your past self who needed to hear, you don't have to fix them, you just love yourself enough to let them go. So those are a few things that might help you kind of identify some places that you need to work on and apply the let them theory. Remember, you let them be how they're going to be, but then what are you going to do? What's the action behind? What are you going to let yourself do in response? And that's really where the power lies. And you will be really, really surprised. Some things it's really hard. Start simple with small things and work up to bigger things, because sometimes it's really hard to start with something if you're really having a challenging relationship. You can let the small little things go, start with that. Maybe it's really hard to let them do big, horrible things like infidelity or causing harm or trauma. Obviously, if that's happening to you, you need to find a safe place. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about those grave things. I'm talking about things that give you back your power, that give you back your time, your space, your energy, that help you foster self-love and self-compassion. And it just brings you closer to clarity, alignment, and peace. We often lie to ourselves about things so that we can handle them. And when we do that, we lose clarity on what exactly is happening. And we lose alignment with ourselves and where we want to be, and we lose our inner peace. So in using this theory to let people be who they are and determine what your response is going to be for that, for yourself, that's the big difference. And it's not necessarily like your response is calling them up and telling them you're upset. Maybe that is your response, but maybe your response is, I don't need that person in my life anymore. Or maybe your response is, you know what? I can totally see why they left me out. I haven't called them in months, almost maybe could be a year. So why would they think I would want to go? I haven't been being a good friend. So I play a role. Sometimes it's being real with yourself too. Let them be late. Let them not text you back. Let them doubt you. Let them leave. And you, let yourself rise. Let yourself be free. Let yourself rest. Let yourself be loved by you. Let yourself change those patterns that are wearing you out, overwhelming you, and making you feel like you aren't worthy. So thank you for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who's learning to let go too, who's learning to balance those things, which basically is all of us. And pick up Mel's book. It is incredible. Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory. You will love it. And if you want to keep the conversation going, you can find me on social media. You can find me on my website, julianajbruno.com, or one of my journaling meetups, and tell me what you're trying to let go of. What is your let them story? I'd love to hear it. It really helps others. This is a community here. So if you leave comments, if you're listening or watching on a platform that allows, if you leave comments about what your let them thing was and what you did in response and how you felt about that, it really helps others as they're working through their own life issues. And until next time, my friend, remember that I care about you, know that I love you, and I support you. And I'll see you in the next one. And most importantly, it is okay to let go. It's okay to let them